Team lists are in, and I want to run you through 10 players whose fortunes have changed with these team lists and take you through how I analyze these players, right? So one of the big things I use is footystatistics.com. It's a really good website. It allows you to look at player stats across the years and look at different variables. So first one here, Jack Williams. He's been named to start on the edge. Now, Jack Williams, he's 505K. He's priced at 38 points, and we can see his career stats here. What I'm going to do is run a filter based on position. So look at his second row numbers. And what we can see here is his average at the second row is 41 points. His average minutes is 72 minutes. So pretty good minutes there. 41 points is pretty mediocre. What we're seeing here is a decent number of missed tackles, a pretty average sort of meter run set there as well. A few errors in the mix. No attacking stats, inconsistent defensive work rate. Overall, for me, I'm probably not that excited. Jack Williams, second row, I think he's one that you can skip. He's just too expensive. If he was a bit cheaper, I'd look into it. But to me, the more exciting thing with Jack Williams is if he, got into the forward rotation. So if we go to lock and we go, say, minutes over 50, for example, it becomes a 46 average, but he's not going to be the lock with Jermaine Hopgood there. So what about prop? I think he had one game at prop with smaller minutes, 36 minutes, 34 points. Probably not a guy I'm looking at, Jack Williams. I think he's one that you can skip pretty easily. Next one is Jack Bird. And one of the things I look for here is, because he's been named on the bench, I want to see if he's played that role before. Now, I already know the answer, but I'll just show you anyway. So we jump into this. We go to interchange. We can see he's got 4 games from interchange spots. Not a lot of minutes, right? 15 minutes, 22 minutes, 38 minutes, one with 67 minutes. So probably not really an indicator for us. For Jack Bird, though, if we move to the lock filter and sort of go minutes under 60, and, I was going to go minutes over 40, but this is already has it covered. So lock for under 60 minutes, his average is 55.3. Now, he's got a couple of try assists amongst that. He's got some attacking plays, but he has that upside anyway. So for mine, if I can find proof this week that he will play lock about 20 minutes in, 25 minutes in, I'm seeing a decent little sample size of points here. So personally, I'm going to try and keep Jack Bird, but it's not guaranteed. I mean, I do look at the Tigers team, though, and I think probably Alex Twal is going to start at lock and then move to the prop rotation because the props are quite light. So Twal to move to prop at some point, Bird to come on. My expectation is he plays sort of 55 minutes off the bench. So I think Jack Bird's someone you can keep, and he's proven that with these numbers that he can produce some pretty big numbers here. So 45 tackles in this game in 54 minutes. It's pretty crazy. Plenty of tackle breaks. Look, he's got some missed tackles in him, but he has some attacking stats as well. So Jack Bird is a yes for me. I think we should stick with him. Then rolling through, I just want to go through this one because there's a lot of people freaking out about Sandon Smith. And I get that you have too many halves in your team, but I think you have to run Sandon Smith. So position, we'll leave that out. We'll just go minutes over 70. So full games because he's playing the halves. Minutes over 70. There's games at 5/8 and halfback. The average there is 38.8, right? So it's nearly a 40 average. He's priced at 19. That's 20 points of value. You must have Sandon Smith. I'm not negotiating on this one. Next one, Shibasaki. Now, for Shibasaki, we have a guy who's coming in for the Broncos there. He's new to fantasy. I think he's been at it for about 300K. So, yeah, 300K there. Priced at 22. We need some points off him. We really need a 32 average. Now, historically for Shibasaki, if we run to the center numbers and we go minutes over 70 minutes, if you're keeping up with all this stuff on the screen, that's great. You can do it yourself as well on footystatistics.com. If you get any insights, you want to share them with me, let me know because I'm always interested. But also you can just watch along with me. I'll give you the numbers too. So for Shibasaki, over 70 minutes, playing at center, 32 points in 79 minutes. So 32 points is fine. That's 32. It's 10 points above his price stat. He looks like he has pretty good job security as well. So I'm not too upset about that. The other thing I'm looking at here is the try scoring rate. So he scored a try in 1 of every 5 games, right? Which is quite low and really no attacking stats to be spoken of. Then I guess he runs a few meters, but the stat line's not that impressive is what I'm getting at. So for him, I think this Broncos team will be good in attack and he'll get some good balls, score some easy tries. So if you add that in, then he becomes serious value. So base is 32 on a price of 22, and you boost that up if the Broncos are any good. If you rate the Broncos, then Shibasaki is a guy you probably have to look at buying for your team. All right, rolling through, this one's a lot harder. So Connor Watson. Now, Connor Watson, I'll throw a few things at you here because we know at hooker, when he plays, decent minutes, right? Let's call it 60 plus minutes. We know the average there is 57.7 in 75 minutes, right? So pretty good minutes. 57.7 is great. He's priced at a 49, so that's serious value. Now, we've seen Zach Docker-Clay named in the team. So we can actually filter for games with Zach Docker-Clay. And that average is actually a little bit higher. It's a 58. So he played 80 minutes and 70 minutes. So there are games where Docker-Clay was on the bench. Didn't really impact Watson that much. Still played the full game. But I'm looking at these meters run. And look, I don't have these games on hand. If anyone does know and remember from last year, let me know. But based on these meters, I'm guessing he played a bit of lock as well, right? He probably wasn't running 100 meters out of hooker. So that's kind of where I think, because you can see the rest of these games, he's mostly not at that 100-meter mark. Like, he still has good meters, but 100 is pretty crazy. So with Watson, I think he probably still plays 70-plus minutes, I would guess. So I think if you still like Watson, stick with Watson 100%. But this also could be the excuse to sell him if you want to do that. So it's kind of up to you. I think he'll still play big minutes, and I think he'll still be good. The risk for Connor Watson is if there's an injury in the back line and he has to move to center or move to 5'8" or whatever it is, that's what will screw him over. But I wouldn't say Zach Docker-Clay is the one that's going to cause him problems. So I think you're all good there. Then we're halfway through, 5 more players. Zach Jezewski. So for Jezewski, I want to show this because this is classic. You open Jezewski on this fence. Have you considered therapy? Is the prompt there? Yeah, it's not ideal, right? Let's see his numbers though. So second row, and let's leave the minutes as they are, right? So 61 minute average, 28.8 average. It's pretty rough. And you look at these scores, right? So I can go to the top. I mean, these games are pretty low minutes, right? But they're recent games where he's gotten hurt both times. So 14 points, 1 point. But then you go through 22, 38, 36, 34, 42, 31, 21, 19. It's not great. I also look at the fact that Pierre Crew is on the bench there, and Pierre Crew plays at least 20 minutes. So let's be generous and go under 60 minutes. When we go under 60 minutes, that average drops to 18 points. He's priced at 19. Like, it's absolutely dreadful. We go minutes over. I'll go minutes over 30. I'll be nice. It becomes an average of 23, right? So I'm forecasting next to nothing in terms of value for this guy. I've got nothing against Jack Jezewski, but for fantasy, it's not good. Like 58 meters average, 18 tackles with 2.5 missed tackles. Like, it's a pretty brutal line here. And the attacking stats are kind of already there. So, like, what are you sort of shooting for? It's just not really attractive. I don't think you should get Jezewski at all. In fact, I'm hard vetoing it. I don't think he's the guy. If you do get Jezewski, though, he might jag a couple of attacking stats and fluke some cash for you. Like, that's the upside that you're going for there, but it's not for me. Nat Butcher, 638K. So for Nat, it's priced at 47, which means you kind of want 55 out of him. So that's pretty hard. But he has been named at lock for the Roosters. So some people are pretty excited about that. I personally think it's a bit hard to jump in at that price point. If he was 500K, I'd be all over this. But 638K, he's had a lot of good years where he's pumped out some big numbers. Now, by position, we're going to go to lock. And just look at that first. And that's a 44 average in 49 minutes. If we go minutes over 40, because I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to say for Nat Butcher, it becomes a 53 average in 57 minutes. That's kind of attractive, right? So 53, you're getting 6 points of value. Not too bad. I'm going to go minutes under, though, and go minutes under 70, right? Because I don't think he's playing 80 minutes at lock. Like, he could maybe move to the edge, but I just don't see Nat Butcher taking 80 minutes in this congested forward pack. So that becomes a 51 average, which is about 4 points of value in 54 minutes. So the PPM is fantastic. Like, he's pretty much pumping out 1 PPM, which is absolutely fine. You've then got 39 tackles, a very low missed tackle rate, so less than 1 missed tackle a game, 100 meters run. Like, this stat profile is completely sustainable. No tries as well, and he'll score tries. So you could make a case the attacking upside might bump him up to sort of 53, 54, 55 if that role is good. Basically, with Nat Butcher, I'm not doing it myself, but I can't disprove it enough to tell you not to do it, right? So if you really like Nat Butcher, I'm going to give you my tick of approval, but it's thin. Like, the margins are thin. You really need him to play good minutes. Like, you really want him to play 60 minutes. That's kind of the objective here. But these numbers are pretty fantastic. Like, the lowest score here is a 43. So, you could do a lot worse. And if you can get him in a trade off someone as well, that's actually not bad in like a draft league or something like that too. So we'll keep rolling through. We've got a few more to go. Now, I want to talk about Tevaga. For Tevaga, this is one where I actually haven't looked at these numbers yet. So you're getting the first look with me. So hooker numbers for Jazz Tevaga is 43 points in 54 minutes. Pretty decent. He's got a few tries in there, which he's an attacking player. He can score them. No try assists, which I think will change with guys like Paseka and Takiaho in his team. If we went minutes over a certain number, so if we went over 40 minutes and under 60, let's just say he plays that 40 to 60 minute role, it becomes a 44 average in 49 minutes. I think that's kind of reasonable. I mean, look at these numbers, and there's that 7 missed tackle game. But these are pretty old games. Like it's 2016, 2021, 2022. Like these are old games for Jazz Tevaga. The run meters are half decent. There's a few offloads in there, 2 offload, 3 offload game. I think price at 31, you're potentially getting a 44 for a small period of time. Then Lachlan Croker comes back. Look, for me, it's enough value. If he was starting for the year, it's definitely enough value. But if he's not starting for the whole, like for a while, it becomes a bit dicey. I'm probably going to say no to Jazz Tevaga, but if Lachlan Croker's out longer than expected, then he'll make money and it'll be good. The other thing is, if you do get him, you could probably start him in your 17 pretty comfortably. Like these numbers aren't crazy, but the lowest ones are sort of in those low 30s area, and he has that potential to go 60 plus in 50 minutes. Like, this one here is 58 points, 51 minutes, with next to no attacking stats. So he's a bit of a unit for fantasy, but just not going to be reliable enough in my view. And then Ben Trbojevic is up next, and there's some interesting stuff we have to talk about here with their bench, right? So I want to show you the Ben Trbojevic numbers. He's priced at 31. If we go to his second row numbers where he plays over 70 minutes, right? So full games at second row, it's a 41 average. He's priced at 31. So you got 10 points of value there at center. It's actually quite attractive, but it's Ben Trbojevic, so let's temper expectations. If we then take out the minutes restriction, it becomes a 32 average. There's some games with injuries. So if we go over 30 minutes, let's say, and just sort of remove those major injury games, it's a 34, which is still not appealing, right? The other thing I want to look at here is we've got a few guys on the bench for Manly, and I'm trying to remember who it was that would take his minutes. So let me just double check that, because they've got Bullimore, but I don't think he'll play on the edge. I think it's who was it? Can't know everything. Can't know everything. It was Corey Waddell. That's it. So Corey Waddell came across from the Dogs. He popped up in the starting team quite a bit as well last year. So games with Corey Waddell, he was a 33 average, and we can see the minutes were mostly 80 to finish the year. So that 59-minute game towards the end of the year, but 80, 80, 80, 80, 80, 80. And at the start of the year, there was a few games where he subbed out with Corey Waddell. So that actually kind of proves the point that he might be okay. Look, the numbers aren't great, though. There are 80-minute games. Like this is an 80-minute game with a try and 23 points. I think in that game he went to center, though. So he moves to center if there are injuries. There's just a few risks with him. Personally, I think that the case is not attractive enough to buy Ben Trbojevic. The value is definitely there to an extent, and you could definitely make some money off it. But I just personally think it's a bit too razor thin, and there's too much risk and not enough upside in it for me to jump on that. And then I want to talk about the Dragons middle forwards as well. So we've got Couchman and Gula. So we'll go to Gula first. All right, there we go. It loaded. Or it's loading. So yeah, Emre Gula, Toby Couchman, they're the guys starting there at St. George. So Emre Gula's 380K, priced at 28. You sort of need a 40-point average out of him. Let's see his numbers, because when he starts at prop, he's got some okay numbers. So it's a 35 average in 41 minutes. That's pretty reasonable as a starting prop. So potentially you get that 35 average out of Gula. If we then go minutes over 30, right, and just remove those injury games, it becomes a 36 average in 42 minutes. It's pretty good. And if we bump that up to a 40 to 50 minute roll, right? Let's say we think he's going to play 40 to 50 minutes. It becomes a 38 average, right? So these 38 points are in 44 minutes. As a starter, I think that's fairly reasonable to expect. The tackle count is pretty reasonable. The missed tackles, there's a few have popped up there, but it's not crazy. Like it's two. A few offloads in the mix there as well. 92 meters run. I think you can do a bit better than that in this forward pack. And then, not a lot of attacking plays. He's got a stronger hooker to play with in this team. I guess not in 2021, he had Hodgson, so that was pretty good. But more recently, he's played with worse hookers than Damien Cook. So look, Gula you can make a case for. I think it's about 10 points of value if you use this 40 to 50 minute calculation. So we got 28 average price and then 38 points, which at 380K, again, I'm not tearing my team apart to get him in, but if you like him and you want to do that, then I'm not going to sort of talk you down from that ledge. Toby Couchman's the other one, so 528K, price to the 39, so you need a lot out of him. He has fantasy pedigree. I'm just going to put this on record. I think he definitely has fantasy pedigree, but the price and the role is questionable. So career numbers, we've got a 33 average in 36 minutes. It's good PPM. If we go minutes over 40 and under 50, let's just do that, for example. We'll start zoomed in. We're looking at a 34 average in 43 minutes. So it's not that exciting. If we go, say, 30 to 60 and really spread it out, give ourselves a bigger sample size, we're looking at a 35 average in 38 minutes. It's a good PPM. Basically, you're sort of factoring in like a, I don't know, what's that historical PPM? Like a 0.9 PPM. So if he gets 45 minutes at 0.9, you're looking at about a 40 average. Like, he's priced at 39. You kind of need him to play the Jack DeBellin role to be value. So I'm going to say a firm no on Toby Couchman. I just don't see where those minutes come from. Now, guys, that is me going through. I hope you enjoyed this. Bit of behind the scenes, bit of a stat analysis. I want to teach you guys how to do it as well, because then you can start coming to me with the insights and I'll copy your views instead. But that's how I look at these things. I like to use footy statistics. The other thing is watching games, right? There's nothing better than watching footy. Watch a guy. If you're interested in a player, watch how they play and think, outside of fantasy, would this guy earn more minutes with the coach? If it's a yes, that's usually a good thing for your fantasy side too. So good luck, guys. I'll come out with some more videos soon. See you then.